Hey everyone, it's Albie. Welcome back to my channel. I have another review for you today. I just finished my first book by an author that is really popular right now, and her name is Julie Ann Long. So the book I just finished is this one. It is Lady Daring Takes a Lover. It is the first book in the series called A Palace of Rogues. I actually already got the second book in a used book haul, and I bought the third book I think last fall, which was I'm Only Wicked When I'm With You. So we have books 1, 2, and now 3. I love all of the covers of these books, but I especially love the cover of the first book. I think it's very alluring, and I think it's a really fun cover to have for your first book. This is by Avon. They're probably my favorite out of the publishing houses. I know, kind of bad to say, but something about Avon books I just really seem to like. So if I'm not sure what I want to pick, especially like at the used bookstore, I bought this on a whim just because I like the color, I like the yellow, and I saw it was Avon and I knew the author. So that's why I ended up picking up this book. And then I said, oh, I actually already own books 2 and 3, so let me go ahead and buy book 1. So I just absolutely love this book. So it was a 4-star read for me. It wasn't a 5-star, but 4 stars are still very, very good. So in this book, we have our heroine who is named Lady Daring. She's Delilah, like Swanpool or something. Yeah, Delilah Swanpool, Countess of Daring. And the book begins with her sort of at her like businessman or like the man that runs her finances, I think. And she finds out that her husband basically left her really like destitute, like she doesn't have a lot of money, and a woman comes in behind her that's also in like widow garb or mourning, and Delilah finds out that this Angelique was the mistress of her late husband. So there's a huge plot twist right there. And so Angelique, who is very discouraged and upset, she's just lost her husband. She doesn't have a lot of money anymore, and she finds out that her husband, who wasn't that wonderful, was cheating on her basically for over half of their 6-year marriage. So she's very distraught. She goes home to see her housemaid Dot, who I really love. Dot, I thought she was a fun character. And basically all the belongings are being sold off because the debtors have to be paid. And so, Delilah has quite the conundrum. And so later, I think the next day, she and Dot go to I can call it it's not a brothel, but it's like a bar where you can get food, you can get drinks, but I think other things might happen upstairs, And Dot, who's the lady's maid, is like, no, we can't go in there. And then Delilah reminds her she's a widow now, and she basically has a few more rights than the typical genteel lady. And so they go into the establishment and they see Angelique again. And so there's a confrontation, but the two seem to have an understanding with one another. And in fact, they decide to, work together in a way and open up their, what they call like the palace. I think it was called the Palace on the Thames, but I just remember as the Palace or the Palace of Rogues. And it's an establishment they open that's right on sort of the water of England. I'm pretty sure it's set in London. I think it said London. I would assume it's in London, but it's set right on the water. And so they have like an establishment where people can basically live or just patron nightly. They can have dinners there. They can have musicals. They can basically have like a supper club or like an inn if need be. So it's not necessarily like a hotel, but more so like a supper club with a hotel option, which I think was really cool. And some things I really liked about this book was that Delilah was a sort of a boss lady. She was able to run a business, which to me this was pretty similar in the sense of Sarah MacLean's Bombshell. Now that was a very different story, but the idea of this strong woman or strong women coming together and forming an establishment or group, I really enjoyed that aspect in the book Bombshell by Sarah MacLean, and I really enjoyed this in Lady Daring Takes a Lover. So I think how the book series will work, I'm not too sure. Will this have Angelique? I don't know. But I think that it's going to sort of take place at the palace on the Thames. And so I think that's a cool idea because you're not setting up with a group of friends necessarily. I mean, there is Angelique and Helga, which I think they could possibly have stories of their own, and maybe even Dot. I'm not too sure. I haven't delved into the series because I don't like to get spoilers. But I think you could even have some like cross class relationships as well. I don't know if they're going to do that, but I like to think maybe that could happen with this series. But this book was published in 2019, and I think the newest book came out in the summer, and that's book 5. Book 4, I think, might be a Christmas book. I'm not fully sure. It's not a novella, but there's sort of like a poinsettia on the cover and like a green velvet coat on the heroine on the cover. So I think it might have like a Christmassy aspect. So that might be something I pick up for my Vlogmas in December. But so far, I really did like this book. Now, our heroine, who is Captain Thomas Hardy. Yeah, I always want to say the other Hardy, the writer. But he was definitely that sort of scarred hero. And he was enjoyable. He just wasn't my favorite. I had more fun reading about Delilah and sort of this forbidden romance that she felt towards her attraction to Captain Tristan. But Tristan, to me, I felt like could have been a little more delved into. I felt like he was an interesting guy, but he wasn't keeping my attention so much as like Delilah was. So I would have liked a little bit more from Tristan in the book world. But other than that, I really did like this story. I'm looking forward to seeing where the series goes as a whole. Like I said, I already have book 2 and book 3. So I definitely have some reading cut out for me in continuation of this series. Another thing I noted was the writing style of Ms. Long. Is on the cover of this, there's a blurb by Amanda Quick that says Julian Long reinvents the historical romance for modern readers. And I would say that, but one thing I noticed was her language was a little more on like the Jane Austen-y scale. Like it wasn't completely modern, but it wasn't like full on Jane Austen, but there was definitely a more like hooked on phonics, get your dictionary ready for some of the words. Like literally there was 2 words like I've only heard these on Gilmore Girls. So that was kind of cool because sometimes when you're reading, you don't necessarily see like 12th grade or whatever level words. Most books I think are actually written at an 8th grade level. So it's kind of cool to have like some, Jeopardy, Jeopardy level vocabulary. So that was kind of cool. So if I was to rate like Julian Long's language or use of language, I would say she's in between like Julia Quinn and Jane Austen. So if you like an historical romance that feels more like it's not like written in the time like Jane Austen or what was that, Suzanne Alman and Mr. Malcolm's List, that was like full on Austen style writing and language. It wasn't that hardcore, but this wasn't sort of as easy breezy of a vocab sort of thing as some other historical romance authors. But I like that. And so if you're more of a person that really appreciates classic literature and sort of the classic Austen, they're not necessarily romances, but I call them romances, I think you're really going to enjoy the writing style of Julian Long as well. So that was a fun aspect I liked as well. Well, everyone, I hope I didn't ramble too much, but I really did enjoy Lady Daring takes a lover. I don't know if it gets a duke. Everyone gets a duke, but she takes a lover. So much fun. I love that our heroine was a boss lady, and so just a unique idea. And I love the cover. She low-key gives me Leah Michelle vibes. I don't know why, but really fun. Everyone have a great day, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye, everyone.